Vivek, very excited to be talking to you, and you know, for so many reasons. Most of us have followed you and seen your journey, and I always say that you remind me of a very gritty entrepreneur. You built iProspect, sold it to Dentsu before, you know, all the startup buzz and everything now that we're seeing in the last 3 years amplified. You did it much before that, and today you are the chairman at IAMI's startup vertical. Tell us about the last 1 year. What has it meant for you, and what are you seeing when it comes to the whole ecosystem?
Okay, so I think the first time around when I was an entrepreneur, when I built Communicate to and sold it to iProspect, it was still a very services era. So all the entrepreneurs in those days were very, very conscious about making profit every month, providing services. We came from this whole, I would say, scarcity mindset, because at the end of the day, it's like almost like you are this entrepreneur, is a trapeze artist. You're capable of doing 3 somersaults, so you only do one because the handle nahi pakad paaye, so you will fall down. And then there is no safety net. I think today's entrepreneur is now focusing on the products industry. And I think that's where I think they are able to take significantly more somersaults. And I think that's a very exciting space to be. So let me just give you the biggest difference that I see entrepreneurship 15, 20 years back and what it is today. 15, 20 years back, it was coming from a scarcity mindset. It was services companies. And today they're going to be product companies which want to conquer the world. So if you just look at it, right, one of the most successful companies in the country is Infosys. But if you take Infosys is 2.5 lakh people, $100 billion in market cap. But in equivalent Microsoft today, you can't compare them, but that's 2,000 billion in market cap and half the number of people, right? So the next 10 years of India are going to be product companies. So what happened in China like in Silicon Valley 20 years ago, 10 years back in China, it's going to happen next 10 years in India. So I'm really excited about the startup ecosystem of India and what the next 10 years look like.
Yeah, and you know, Vivek, it also brings out the fact that India has also taken a huge stride, right? In the last 10 years, we've seen this whole proliferation of digital happening. And in the last 2 years, and I want you to tell us, like, you know, we kept on saying digital India, but now it feels like finally we are in a very, very strong digital India. What do you have to say about that?
We started Communicate too. After a few years of struggle, we used to have this phrase. He says that digital is the future, and the phrase would complete and always will be. I'm going to be on the wheelchair and I'll be saying future is digital. So it's going to arrive, right? I think what has happened in the last few years is the complete acceleration that Lenin said, right? When some decades happen in a few months. So last 1 year, decades have happened. So today, digital has now become the age we're living in. It impacts every single facet of an organization. And the fact of the matter is that today, I would say that right from customer acquisition, brand building to talent management to understanding consumer trends, there is not a single area of a company that is not impacted by digital. And we're also living in a digital age. So it's about, you know, if you take even the watershed moment of Zomato going IPO, a company that is not making profit just a few years ago were not even allowed to do an IPO.
Yeah.
They've grown their and sustained the price, and they've grown the value of the shares, etc. So this would have been unheard of a few years ago, right? So this also paves the way for accepting that digital economy is the economy we're living in. And this is how it is going to be the order of the day, right? So a lot more companies are going to follow this route that you can create tremendous amount of wealth through digital companies. And I think digital is now here to stay. Digital is the economy we're living in.
Yeah. And it is being fueled by such amazing startups and entrepreneurs. But you know, one of the challenges remains for young startups in India, how to get mentorship at scale, because everyone is doing it mostly for the first time. And how do you get the right advice? How do you get the right support? And then I know that at IAMI, as the chairman of the startup committee, you've started a peer-to-peer mentoring program, the Circle. Tell us about that.
Okay, so Shradha, let me just give you a little background of where this program came from and how we brainstormed this idea, right? So I started my first company 20 years ago, but I started my new company a year ago, right? So I started a new company called ProfitWheel a year ago. And I found that if you don't have mentors, then smallest things to do become extremely difficult. And I was reading this very interesting book. I was doing this course in Canada, and the book is called Who Not How. So instead of trying to figure out how to do it, you should find out who can help you do it, right? I realized that there is no ecosystem of mentors in the country other than two organizations that I've been a part of, called Young Presidents Organization YPO and Entrepreneurs Organization called EO, right? And the problem with that is that they are at a very different scale, right? You have to be a $20 million company in revenues to just enter YPO, right? So it is not meant for startups.
Yeah.
But the system is very, very good, right? They have this peer-to-peer networking, or they call it a forum, which is extremely valuable, because most of the decisions that I've taken in my life, the shared experiences of the entrepreneurs and founders have helped me take those decisions. So I said, can we do this in a non-biased, neutral manner? So, generally investors become mentors for most startups. But the problem is, I've invested in 22 companies. One of the companies I've invested, let's say 75 lakhs, and now suddenly he gets an offer where I'm going to make 75 crores. Hopefully I do. But then for me, it's very difficult to tell him, nahi yaar, tu aur bad, you do something, you be the next Elon Musk or the Jeff Bezos, and don't give me 75 crores right now, right? So then my mentorship will go into the dustbin. I'll say, about 75 crores, I'm going to buy my yacht, right? So the thing is that all mentorships today are linked to some investment the guys have done. And that just creates this biased model where it's very difficult to have a neutral view to the entrepreneur. So what I thought was, if IAMAI does it, it's a neutral party, the mentors and founder mentors. So this is actually not only peer-to-peer, it's also founder mentors and peer-to-peer. So the founder mentors will have no agenda with the entrepreneur because they'll not be invested in those companies. The peer-to-peer guys will not be competitors, at least 8. They're each. So I'll just explain how the program is, right? So there are 8 founder mentors. These are people who are who's who of India. I'm going to cover them later, but they're who's who of India, founder mentors who have built 10,000 crore companies per se. And then we have these sort of founders who also are running reasonably large companies. So they'll range from 50 crores and above and go to about 200, 500 crores also, right? But now they'll be put into sort of 10 people each, 4 groups. And these 4 groups will be 2 founder mentors and 8 entrepreneurs or founders. And they will meet for 2 hours once in a month. So the way the structure of this works is that in that 2 hours, nobody advises each other. So if there is a personal or professional challenge somebody is facing, then what they do is that they will just share their own experience when they face a similar challenge. Learning from these 7-8 people, how they face that challenge, and based on that, you can take a decision. So nobody tells you do this. Yeah. And it's a very interesting model. They call it the Gestalt protocol, where instead of advising a person, you share experiences. And these experiences are valuable. So over the last 20 years of me being a part of EO, I must have heard thousands of such experiences. So even the problems I've not faced as yet, because somebody else faced that problem and people shared the experiences, when I encounter that problem, I can almost remember the experiences, because stories is something that we remember, right? Yeah. So I thought if we can deliver the same value to also founders as well as the founder mentors, this would be a great thing for startups in India. So that's the reason IAMAI decided to launch this initiative. And we've been able to get some awesome mentors on board. Means they are, I'm so grateful to them that they have agreed to spend 2 hours every month with these entrepreneurs. Obviously, there's no commercial consideration for them, just that they want to give back to the entrepreneurship, give back to the startups in India. But we have Meera Shah, founder of Metropolis, we have Dinesh Agarwal, India Mart, Adil Shetty, Bank Bazaar. There's a guy called Nigel Morris, who was a mentor to me. He should run $40 billion of Dentsu's business earlier. Wow. He's come on board. PK Gulati, he was an investor in my earlier company, but he's very well connected in the Middle East and in the Silicon Valley. So he's come on board. Tarana Lalwani from Innovent Capital. We have Rajesh Magao, the co-founder of Make My Trip. We have Nikhil from Zerodha. So basically these mentors are who's who of the country, and just that ability to get an experience from them how they handle a certain challenge is going to be so invaluable to these startups that I'm really excited about, being a part of this initiative so that the startups, we can create some, I would say, move the needle for the startups in India.
I can see your genuine passion, interest, and how invested you are in the circle that you're creating. Vivek, one question I had is that to create mentorship at scale has remained a problem, right, world over. And when you are doing this at IAMI with IAMI, how are you thinking about it? That how would you scale this? How would you grow this? And then are you also looking at entrepreneurs and startups, particularly in tier 2, 3 cities?
See, I think the best thing about this initiative is because of COVID, this initiative is now completely virtual.
Okay.
It democratizes not only tier 2 and tier 3 cities, it could be villages also.
Anywhere.
As long as they have access, they can be part of this initiative. Secondly, in the long run, right, once we have this first cohort of 40 people, we're able to deliver value both to the mentors as well as to the founders. I have a feeling that this initiative will expand substantially because we can have hundreds of circles in the long run, because these circles per se can be global circles, they can be in different industries, they can be circles where, let's say today we are looking at startups which are 50 crores to 500 crores. But the next what could be from 25 crores or 20 crores to 50 crores or 10 to 20 crores or 0 to 5 crores, right? So basically, depending on that, even the mentors will be matched in the same way. So today we have two mentors who have taken their companies public and today valued at 10,000 crores and above. They may not be able to add value to somebody who's running 50 lakh rupee business, but we get the relevant mentors for a 50 lakh rupee revenue company, then we can even have multiple circles per se. So the way it is, I think the reason why mentorship has not scaled too much is because I think there has never been a neutral platform that has launched it. And when a neutral platform has actually launched it, it actually has scaled up and become very successful. So YPO and EO are great examples of mentorship at scale working. But it's a peer-to-peer. So what we're trying to do is that there is one level peer-to-peer, but the other level, we also want experiences of established founders in India who can sort of give back to the founders, right? So if somebody wants to take a company public, right, it's great to have two mentors who have taken the companies public. Or 5 people who have invested in 5 companies that have gone public, right? So how do we match this? And if you have to deliver value, I think this will replicate and this will become a very, very interesting vehicle for India to really grow the startup ecosystem of the country.
Yeah, and I want to ask you that all the founders and startups who would be listening to this, if they have to join this program, the circle, how do they go about it?
Right. So basically, we have a website. I'm going to share the details of the website with people. They can go in there and apply it. So in the first cohort, we're going to take only 30 entrepreneurs. So my recommendation is that we're going to choose the best 30. So please apply as quickly as possible. What we'll be doing is that we'll be taking 8 entrepreneurs or 8 founders and match them with 2 mentors. So every month, they'll spend 2 hours with these 2 mentors. But you'll also learn from your peers. We plan to throw in a lot of interesting things for them. So let's say Netcore has agreed to partner with us. They're going to give some 10 lakhs rupees worth of SMS and email along with it. I'm sure AWS and Amazon, basically, and Google and Facebook, their current chairman and the vice chair are MDs of both these companies. So I'm sure they will also participate in some ways and help the founders in multiple ways. But I think the biggest thing is that this sharing experience, right? I've gone through this for 20 years. So there is no other way to get this experience other than joining these organizations. And there is only peer-to-peer. So with peer-to-peer plus the founder mentors, it's a very interesting model. And because we have only 30 positions vacant at this point in time for founders, my only advice to them is to apply quickly and really make an effort in the application, because we'll be choosing the applicants, and each applicant that gets in actually will be involving the mentors and the founder mentors in choosing them. So they will be playing a role in selecting these founder members who come into the program.
Yeah, I also want to ask you this question, that you have been earlier a mentee and you're a mentor, and you've lived both the spectrum. How do you, Vivek, say that a good mentorship, a relationship between a mentee and a mentor, a good, solid, outcome driven relationship works out? What are some of the things both sides have to look at?
So, Shraddha, the way this program is structured, right? I think actually it's not a mentor-mentee relationship.
Hmm.
The way I look at this program is that this is actually a platform that people are going to share their challenges, and
Hmm.
people are going to share the experiences of if they have tackled the same challenge. So what happens
Hmm.
is that because in a mentorship model, what happens is it's like I'm the mentor and you're the mentee, then I'm supposed to give you something, right? Here, what happens is this is a platform in which both of us are learning from each other. So what
Hmm.
happens is
Hmm.
that this is the reason why this model works really well, because nobody's advising you. Because see, what happens is, right, let's say I'm just doing some loud thinking. Somebody is worth, taking a company public and it's worth 10,000 crores. But the thing is, I'm building a company which is only 100 crores today. But about that industry, about that company, I probably know more than what my mentor does, right? So when somebody speaks to me, even like when investors used to speak to me in a advice, you as entrepreneurs, you like, listen, I know this more than you, right? But when they talk about an experience, right, they're not
Yeah.
giving me anything, then I love to hear
Yeah.
stories and experiences, right? Because let's say, I'll give you an example, like we went and I had spent 2 hours with, let's say, Hitesh Oberoi from Naukri, or I'd spent some time
Hmm.
with GB Chandani, he'd given us a talk. So all the experiences that he shared, right, those experiences have helped me a lot. So let's see Hitesh's example, right? He said that there is always a cash cow in the company, and then you can use that cash for other things. But creating the cash
Hmm.
cow is very essential. So now when I'm building ProfitWheel, we have lots of ideas. We want to create the dent in the universe, but we are conscious of the fact that we have to get one cash cow working, right? But that
Yeah.
learning is coming from Hitesh, because he shared his own example of how he built a cash cow in Info Edge and Naukri, right? If you told me he's
Yeah.
built a cash cow, मैंने कहा हाँ मेरे को भी मालूम है cash cow बनानी है. But he shared his own experience, right? He didn't tell me I should do this. So now what happens is if I hear these stories constantly, so my belief is if you become a part of the Circle program, you'll be part of the same program for 10 years, 20 years from today. So I've been in the same
Hmm.
15 years where for once in a month, we have met 15 years for 4 hours every month. There is so much value that I see every month in it that I take out that 4 hours to spend on a monthly basis on that forum, right? So that's the kind of value all these entrepreneurs will get. And I feel that the founder mentors also will get a lot of value, because what happens is that when people share experiences, it could be a personal challenge, right? It could be
Yeah.
life balance. It could be something to do with kids, because as entrepreneurs, right, our whole life revolves around the company. Like since like that's how it's consuming. But the thing is, we have challenges, right? Like we can't attend birthday parties that often, we can't go to the founders day that often, we do so many things, and it's very difficult for non-entrepreneurs to understand it, right? So this is a safe place where every single person is in the same boat as you. They understand exactly what you're going through, and they will share their experiences that will become so amazingly valuable for you, right?
Right. So beautiful. So what I hear actually from you is that you're creating an open, safe space for entrepreneurs to just come, listen, immerse themselves into different experiences and derive their own learnings.
Basically, there has to be a framework. So it's a very, very firm framework that 2 hours in a month they must spend. If any point of time they are not attending these meetings or that, we will give their money back. And I've discussed this with IAMAI, and they'll be out of this forum, right? So it has to be a quid pro quo. They have to give time, because if the founder mentors are coming and spending time, then the entrepreneurs, just paying money is not enough, right? They have to come and spend time on this. Secondly, you cannot advise people. So there has to be a protocol followed in the thing, both as entrepreneurs as well as the founder mentors, where you share experiences, but you don't advise. So following of that strict protocol of Gestalt is very, very essential. You cannot come and ask for references to either raise capital or get introduced to somebody. It has to be only challenges you're facing. So you don't say that, okay, Amira, please introduce me to this person and let him give me business. So you can't do a sales pitch to this thing, right? So there are certain ground rules, but in that framework, we want people to feel safe. Whatever is discussed should remain confidential. There should be no competition in that group. That's the reason I wanted entrepreneurs to apply as quickly as possible, because we don't plan to have competitors in the group of 10. So those 10 people, be companies, we don't compete with each other. So then there is, again, the safety environment must be there in it. And there is no commercial relationship. So you will not, if let's say Amira is invested in a company, that company will not be part of that 10 people group. So I've learned through YPO, EO, and these organizations over the last 20 years. So I've taken the best things out of that out here. And I think remove the flaws of traditional mentorship. So that whole word itself, right? If I am an entrepreneur running a 500 crore company, I don't want to call myself a mentee, right? Basically, at the end of the day, I want to have a sort of peer-to-peer relation with somebody. He's also CEO. I'm also a CEO. He runs a 10,000 crore company. I run a 500 crore company. That's fine.
Yeah.
But we are equals at some level, right?
Yeah.
Then this is an equal platform. But yes, we wanted 2 people in each of these 10 people to be more experienced than others. But I think they will learn as much as what the founders will. I think it's going to be a platform of equality where everybody will learn from each other.
Yeah, because it is an open, safe space for immersive experiences, sharing of experiences, and that stays. Yeah. This is powerful, and I hope this goes on to create a lot of, like examples like you gave today. You talked about Hitesh Oberoi and the cash cow. I'm sure a circle hopefully goes on to create that impact that people refer to it.
Shradha, I'll share an example. It actually was a game changer in my life. So what happened was that when I was about to sell my company, I asked my best friend, what should I do? So उसने बोला, अरे बाप रे, this much money, बेच दे अपन, right? And exactly, if he had come to me, I would have given exactly the same advice, right? But when I discussed this in my forum, right, they gave me such a different perspective. They told me that selling a company is not a destination, it's a journey. You have 5 years in that process of actually selling your company. You have to make sure that you're going to enjoy those 5 years. Then you have to look at it, what are you going to do with the money? What are you going to do after 5 years? So when I looked at that, I spent so much more effort in selecting who I wanted to partner with, who I want to sell to, rather than the person who was giving the most amount of money, right? And I would say that that was an important decision, right? But that happened in 2012. I was a part of Dentsu. I played a role in it. They supported me in my new endeavor, started ProfitWheel. And imagine how important that decision turned out to be in my life. If it wasn't for this forum, right, I probably would have just gone for the guy who paid me $1 more, right? Yeah. It would have not been in my mind. And I would have treated selling a company because you're getting money into the bank as a destination rather than a journey, right? I would have not looked at it from a 10-year perspective. So these experiences are just so invaluable, and I can count almost like the most critical decision of my life. If it wasn't for the forum, I could have easily made a wrong decision. But that's such a powerful example you're giving, because it actually tells that you couldn't have had that advice, because you couldn't have lived without taken a proper decision without that advice or input, because you hadn't made an exit before. You hadn't lived that journey before. And there were people who had lived that journey. And that's what you are bringing with the circle, where people who've lived the journey will talk about their journey, so that, like you said, if you've lived or not lived, you pick up from there. Vivek, I want to talk to you about ProfitWheel, but we have to have a detailed chat about ProfitWheel and what you're doing. But maybe here you have to tell me that how come after being an entrepreneur and then taking the other journey of being in Dentsu, again, you are starting up? Okay, so basically, if you ask me, right, that I think I had a small get together at my house yesterday, and we were talking about COVID babies. So for me, in a way, COVID has forced us to do a lot of introspection. So one of the things I did was I wrote a book on happiness. It's called Happiness is a Muscle. So that is getting published most likely in September. I've also built a happiness course, which I'll send you the course as soon as it's uploaded on one of the sites. But I think what I realized was that at certain point of time in your life, right, you realize that, so one of the things about chapters in my book is about money. They say once you start earning about $75,000, about 60, 70 lakh rupees a year, right? After that, additional money does not give you happiness, It's almost the law of diminishing utility. So by God's grace, I was making more money than that I'll make for the rest of my life, regardless whether I do anything or not. So there was no incentive for me to make more money to start a company. But what happens is, as an entrepreneur, right? One of my other chapters in the book is that happiness comes from growth. It does not come from stagnation. So what happens is that here we have an opportunity. There are so many evils in my mind in the AdTech and the MarTech world. There is a clear opportunity of creating a global company which is scaled across 100 countries. And there are these problems that I know exist, and we know they have the capability of solving them. And then it'll be sad of not solving them, right? So they say that you create a company because you want to end something good, because you want to make something great. You start a company. This is, I think, Guy Kawasaki says that when you see evil, you want to remove the evil, and that's the reason you start a company, right? So when he started Apple, he said Microsoft was evil. That's the reason they started Apple. So I feel that there's so many evils in the AdTech MarTech world, right? Where if we can solve them, right, it will create that dent in the universe. And the joy of solving that problem is going to be extremely challenging, right? Building a global company. I've never built a product company before. So I've been in services all my life. So building a product company, raising significantly more capital, building a tech and engineering team, solving problems which you compete with the Adobes and Salesforce of the world, rather than competing with just the Indian services, Bombay-based digital agencies, etc. So that whole process, just thinking about it is very exciting, right? So one of the quotes that has motivated me as an entrepreneur, which was the first time around, was that entrepreneurs live a few years of their life like most people won't, so they can live the rest of their life like most people can't. Now, if you create a services company, you can probably get a nice car and a nice house. But if you build a scaled global products company, then you can buy a few islands, right? So at least that also has to be the motivation of creating something of exceptional value.
But I think we need to have a deeper discussion with you on this, because somewhere I see when you are talking a lot of excitement, a lot of joy, a lot of, rigor, and a lot of drive. And how do you continue to have this after 20-25 years of journey is something, and then do something again all over again? How do you maintain that? And I think for you it's just growing. Like, I think I've seen you, it's just growing, right? Like, I've seen you rushing at the airports, like always on the mission mode. How do you keep yourself in that frame? Would love to have a conversation with you on that.
For sure. I think even like writing this book, Shraddha, has been a game changer for me, because over the last 1 year, when I was writing the book, I didn't have any outcome in mind, and I didn't want to sell so many copies or anything, right? But I said that just the whole process of writing it would clarify my thoughts about what happiness means to me, and will I be a happy person? So that was the purpose behind the book. And I think in the last 1 year, I've also interviewed a lot of people, and every single person has taught me something of how they look at happiness. So the whole book is about actions that you do, which like are exercise, sleep, and meditation, etc. But is the beliefs that make a difference. So I think entrepreneurs who are driven by a certain purpose, then the energy automatically comes, the passion automatically comes. It's not driven by some things which is shallow, which can be achieved, and then you don't know what to do next, right? Here, what happens is that you have, let's say, one of our visions is that you want to connect the AdTech world and the MarTech world. And that sounds like a, easy thing, but it's a very, very complicated thing to solve, right?
Yeah.
So that's what, when you are driven with that kind of a purpose, right, you can spend the next 100 years and you can still work on the problem. So that's the goal should be.
Wow. Thank you. Wow. Thank you. This is such an authentic conversation. Thank you so much. And I wish you all the very best with the circle, and wish you all the very best with ProfitWheel. And we'll have a separate conversation for that. But to everyone watching, look at the circle. If nothing else, it's going to be an experience, and it's going to have stories, and it's going to help you navigate your own journey.
The URL is circleprogram.in. So it's just that people go out there. The mentors are mentioned out there. We've signed up a few entrepreneurs already, but I'm going to collect all the 32 entrepreneurs before we announce them. And I think it'll be a game changer for them. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that I hope all the people get an opportunity to become a part of the circle program, and I'm very excited about the value they'll receive from it. So, and love to engage with them, because I think we also as founder mentors learn a lot from the entrepreneurs when they become a part of this program. So
Wow. Wow. So you know that you're going to get good, amazing, humble mentors. Yeah. Thank you so much, Vivek. Thanks a lot.